I'm here with Ohara, and we're here to discuss Law and the possible traitors of our alliance. I guess the main thing that people were talking about because when I go through comment sections of videos I was watching, that's the main thing people were discussing, like who could the possible traitor be. And even I was watching Roger earlier, I'm watching some Teching. Even your video is like, okay, so who are we going to talk about? Who is the person, the prime suspect for the traitor? And I think the chapter was trying to insinuate that that's Law. So I guess I'll ask you here. Do you think it's Law?
Well, first of all, pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I don't think it's Law, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's not impossible that Law will kind of like sabotage or try to like betray the alliance at one point.
Yeah.
I just think if Law would do that, I don't think that would be his style to go to Orochi, you know?
Right, exactly.
Like, I feel Law would be the kind of guy who would like go directly to Kaido and like, you know, do something there. I think he seems like the type of guy who wouldn't respect Kaido enough to Orochi enough to like go to him and like send him a letter and shit. I think he would be like, okay, I go to Kaido, I say, okay, I want to fuck this up.
Yeah, because Kaido respects, like, he
Exactly.
wants to acquire people. So it's a lot. I think it's a lot there to unpack with Law, because you have to go all the way back to Marineford, right? So when he saved Luffy, right? We never understood like why he did it. It just seemed like it was just something he just did. Move forward to their alliance on Punk Hazard and how they joined up and they wanted to take down. The goal was to take down Kaido, and he said you have to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
To take down Doflamingo and to have Kaido come down on Doflamingo, first you have to destroy the factories, and then Kaido will destroy Doflamingo. Then after that, we had the alliance with the Minks and the Samurai, and then Law was seemingly okay with it, right? He was like, all right, you know, he asked Luffy about their alliance, then he said, hey, Luffy asked him if he's okay with it. He's like, yeah, but whatever. Now we get to Wano. You know, Law was in Wano before Luffy, obviously, and he was working things out, trying to figure out the logistics, all that. And he had a plan to go after Kaido, because remember Law told us back then there was a 30% chance of taking out Kaido.
Yep.
And we were like, with 30%, that's it. And I think now it's like when we saw Kaido and how he decimated Luffy, it's like, okay, this makes sense,
good.
right? 30%, I understand now, right?
Take that deal. Yep.
Yeah. I wonder what the percentage is now, and it's crazy because Big Mom is now involved. But even bringing it back, Law left the alliance because his crewmates were being blamed.
Well,
so,
do you think he already left the alliance? I don't think that happened yet. I think it might very well happen like once people find out that there's a traitor, and then like I don't know, someone like Shinobu is gonna pin it on Law, and then I think he's gonna be the one who's like, okay, like I told you, if there's no trust, like this is over. So I didn't get the feeling that he already, or did you feel like he already has left the alliance, like mentally?
It felt like he was sick of his crew being blamed, because that's essentially what Shinobu was doing, right? She was saying that the reason why everything is going wrong, because that's when the people of the other people, the people with the Crescent Moons and all that stuff, they got apprehended, and she felt like it was because Beppo and those guys were snitching. So Law, of course, took offense to that.
Do you feel Law is the type of do you think Law is the kind of person like to throw the whole operation like that basically started on Punk Hazard and then like went over Dressrosa and Zoe and Whole Cake Island? Do you think like he would throw that over because someone is being rude to his crew? Like now we know a lot more about Law, especially like after Dressrosa. Like he's definitely emotional, especially about his crew.
Yes.
So I definitely think like it's not out of character for him to be like pissed off about that. I just think he's rational enough. Like it would seem weird if he would like leave the alliance over something like what Shinobu said, if you know what I mean. Like,
no, I agree.
She was not being nice, but like that, Shinobu is not exactly Luffy or Kinemon, you know?
Yeah, like her opinion doesn't hold the weight that those people would. So I agree with you. Like Law is a rational thinker. I think honestly, the purpose of Law leaving at that point, he realized that trying to create a plan with Shinobu, or trying to work something out that was plausible with her, it was probably pointless. And I think Law leaving, because she was already blaming them, you know.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
and then when you think about it, everything that was happening, he had a plan for several things, and nothing really played out the way he did. Because even if we go back to 924 or 923, whatever, when before Luffy fought Kaido, he's like, yo, we cannot
Yep.
show ourselves. We have to, because we don't want people to know that we're here. And
Yeah, exactly.
essentially, Hawkins caught wind of him. Because I think Luffy and Zoro, that's when they went to, I forgot that town when they fought Hold'em, where Hold'em was.
Right.
And Beppo said, hey, I see Straw Hat and I see Luffy. I see Straw Hat and I see Zoro. And then Law had to intervene. And that's when Hawkins, they had their fight, right? So in a way, the Straw Hats and everything they've been doing, that's the reason why everything is going wrong, quote unquote, for Law right now.
Right. Right.
But the thing is, Law knows how they are. So it's not surprising how they're doing things. I think what's throwing it off is that Luffy would never blame Law's crew for snitching.
Yeah, and he knows that.
Right. Like,
I mean,
Luffy would never do that.
Yeah.
So I think what was just annoying was Shinobu saying it. What are you saying? Like, you're blaming my crew for this? That's insane.
I definitely see that Law. Like, obviously, he has every right to be offended at this, but at the same time, I think, like, he should also be smart enough to understand the circumstances that the country is in right now.
Right.
Like, you can be pissed off by someone like Shinobu, but at the same time, like, it's not like a super unreasonable thing of her. Like, her country is basically going down the dogs because of some outside pirates.
Right.
And then she's pissed off because, like, suddenly, like, Kinemon, like, just pops up with Luffy and Law.
Yeah.
I think it's her right to be suspicious. Like, can Law be offended by her blaming his crew? 100%. But, like, I think he should be, as a pirate especially, he should be smart enough to say, like, okay, like, I don't like her.
Yeah.
Like, we've been through a lot of shit for you guys. But at the same time, like, I get why you don't trust me, like, the moment you see me, basically, you know?
That's a good point.
It's not like Law is like the 100.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the most
yeah.
sweet looking guy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, you're right. Law isn't exactly an approachable person.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way, where Shinobu and everything that they've been through for so long, Law has to understand things like this going wrong. She's going to lash out at somebody, and that's the person she chose to do it to. But again, I think for Law, do you think it's some insecurity there? What I mean is that throughout from Punk Hazard, it seems like he's been depending on Luffy and the Straw Hats and his personal goals. And people say he doesn't have any personal goals. I think right now is just the Willa D or whatever. I think that's the main thing that he's interested in. But do you think he's gotten to a point where he's saying, okay, I have to focus on my crew at this point because nobody else is going to care about them if I don't, right? But it's weird. Because even after that, we got this stuff with Hawkins.
Yeah, that's true.
In the capital.
I think it kind of comes down to, like, whether or not you think that Law still, like, has an agenda, if that makes sense. Because, like, I feel for a lot of people, it kind of felt like Law's true purpose was to, like, take down Kaido, to take down Doflamingo with him, right? Because, like, that was his personal stake in the whole thing, in a way, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would make the story a lot more interesting if Law still has the ambition to become Pirate King, or at least, like, to be a successful pirate.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think, like, Luffy has done a lot for him. So while I don't necessarily think that Law feels indebted to Luffy, I still think, like, he respects him enough to at least support him in a way, you know?
Right.
I feel like if Law at all, like, or if you want, like, if you say, okay, you kind of want to find a reason why Law would betray the Alliance, it would basically be that Law would want to become the Pirate King himself, and he just says, okay, Alliance was good and everything, and I respect Luffy, but, like, if I don't stop him here, like, I'm not gonna have a shot at this.
That's why I think Law ultimately leaving is going to be a net positive for the Alliance, because from what we know now, they're walking into a trap, right?
Is he gonna make it out of Wano alive, though?
Yes. I know. I think he does. I think the popular thing is that he dies, right? But and then we go back to the ageless surgery. But it's like a few things, like who does he use it on? I think Law is just looking at One Piece in general as a character, popularity. Killing a character like Law will be a bold move. But I would not be surprised, because Oda did say that, whatever is coming up with this war is going to, make Marineford look small. The major impact from Marineford is the deaths of
Ace
and Whitebeard. So if you don't have a major death, it kind of pales in comparison. Right?
There will be one for sure.
So somebody has to die. So honestly, I wouldn't mind it if it was like Hiyori.
But then the question is that impactful enough? Because I don't think, like, I think if Oda says this is gonna make Marineford look cute.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if, like, first of all, I'm not even sure if one death is enough. Like, for me, I feel like a character like Hiyori, who's like, who we are a little, or like, to a certain degree emotionally involved with, but like, is not, no one like.
She's not Law.
Yeah, she's not Law. So like, I think like someone like Hiyori is definitely also like a potential candidate like for dying. Like, not Hiyori in particular, but like someone on that level of importance. But I definitely think like that like Oda will probably like have someone killed off who's like a bigger emotional impact.
What do you think about Kinemon? Out of everyone there, he's probably the person we have the most connection to.
I don't know. I feel he's not a very killable character though. Like if you know what I mean. Like Kinemon is kind of like this wise guy who like, I don't know. I don't see like that as impactful. But like if you think about like what's the closest, like if you don't want to kill off a Straw Hat, right? Yeah. Which I think everyone hopes won't happen.
Yeah.
I think like the closest thing to that emotional impact is like someone like, I think there's like not so many people who you could kill off that would have a similar emotional impact. And I think like Law is definitely on that list. Maybe Sabo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
But like,
the thing is, I think you can't kill Sabo. And the reason why I say that it's just too parallel to like Marineford.
Yeah,
if you kill Ace, then you kill Sabo. Yeah, it just seems so redundant. Like, okay, so do you tell me like Luffy has a long lost brother again that eats the Marimaro no Mi next, right? So I think Sabo. No. I mean, that's assuming the revolutionaries come to Wano, and we know they're. Something Morge mentioned that I didn't even realize. He said that there must have been a delay in the reverie, which makes sense if two admirals are fighting. And I never thought about that perspective and didn't even realize the timeline with that. He said it must have been a delay with the reverie because with the timeline, it seemed like the reverie was still going on after they said it should have been done. So we don't know exactly what's going on with the revolutionaries right now. So it has to be some serious stuff. The recent update we had was Capone, right? With Capone, he said there's still like blockades around,
right?
Like, you know,
and he had to turn around.
He had to turn around. So we know that something's still going on even at that time. But I think in regards to the revolutionaries, I think the person that could die, maybe Koala, if she does show up, right?
Right.
Because we have some connection to her, but not. Yeah. You know, it wouldn't seem redundant as if Sabo died.
Right. I mean, like I didn't like suggest that Sabo was the one killed off. I rather meant it as like there's a very small group of people who would have like
that emotional impact, you know? Outside of the strats. I got you.
Because wouldn't like obviously it's never nice having like a character you like being killed off.
Right.
Like that's never a nice feeling. But at the same time, wouldn't it be kind of like contra or like contra-climactic, if that makes sense? Like if you had like the biggest like a war that makes Marineford look small and that shakes the fate of the world, but then like the big loss out of it is Kinemon. Like I like Kinemon, like he's a cool character, like he's been around for a long time, but like that would be kind of like, okay, well we lost Kinemon, but then like for that like we defeated Kaido, or we defeated Kaido and Big Mom or something like that, you know, like that would be kind of like, wow, the stakes here weren't probably set, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I guess like that just got me thinking, something that could really shake this war, right? And I know we were kind of veering off the rails here a little bit.
It's Luffy dying.
Definitely Luffy dying, but not just Luffy, a Straw Hat dying.
Yeah, I mean it's an idea that people have thrown around for forever.
But the more I think about it, the more I feel like it should happen.
Yeah, it's
a scary thought, like, right? It's a scary thought, honestly. But I feel like there are a lot of things there to kind of not only bolster the impact of this war, but then it's somewhat of a new motivation, because we know for Roger he took essentially 2 voyages, right? This moment and this, like, if somebody dies, it could be the start of like a new voyage, because essentially you would have to replace that person on the crew.
For sure.
And because we know Roger, he brought Odin onto his crew, and then he started to travel with Odin after a while. So I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think people that we care about for this war to have a lasting impact, not only on the world, but because you know that's gonna happen regardless, because Big Mom and Kaido is there, on the viewers, the fan base. It has to have that impact that moment similar to Whitebeard, similar to Ace, where that major person dies.
Exactly. Especially if Oda says he wants to make Marineford look small.
Right.
Like, obviously, I'm sure he also talks about scale here, because, like, we have 2 Yonkos, maybe 3 Yonkos,
Yes.
who knows,
Yes.
coming in, and the Marines probably, and who knows what. So, at scale-wise, for sure. But, like, the real impact of Marineford was, like, the emotional part, right?
Right.
I mean, killing of a Straw Hat, like, that's... I don't think Oda would be afraid of doing that.
Yeah.
Like, my concern with that is rather, would his editors allow him to do that?
Exactly.
You know, kinda?
Yeah, because
Like,
that's a huge
kill off merchandise in a way, you know?
Like, okay, out of all the Straw Hats, like, whose merchandise you think is the...
Well, like, if we go... I mean, okay, so if we say a Straw Hat would have to die, first of all, I think, while I hate the idea of any of these characters dying,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's without a doubt would make a crazy impact on the story, because it, like, similar with Ace, it would kind of, like, shatter that fairy tale ambience a little bit,
Yeah.
and, like, set the stakes for the final war a lot higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if someone were to die by the hands not of Kaido, like, not by someone who would die at the end of, or, like, be defeated at the end of Wano, but, like, someone who's still an enemy at the end of the story.
What if they die to whoever the traitor is?
Yeah, the Traitor or Blackbeard or the Marines or whatever, like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone who's still an enemy. So that, first of all, that would make the story, like, that would be like some Game of Thrones level shit
Yeah.
that would, on the one hand, 100% like anger and frustrate, hopefully frustrate many, many readers. But I think we can both agree that, like, that would definitely skyrocket the engagement with the story.
Yeah.
So, and then if we talk about, okay, who would the Straw Hat be? Like, I think, like, the easiest answer out for Oda would be Jinbei. Because, like, he's someone who hasn't really traveled with the crew. He's still a Straw Hat. But, like, the thing with Jinbei is, that would make me the least happy in a way. It would make me the most happy because he's the most expensable in a way.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen so much of him. But in the same time, only making Jinbei officially join the crew while not being there for most of the time, only to kill him off then, would be kind of shitty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like even Jinbei, if he dies, it doesn't have the impact of Law dying.
Exactly.
Like,
because he just hasn't been around so much.
He hasn't. So like, Jinbei wouldn't fit the bill here. And then for Jinbei, he's been foreshadowed to die so many times. Like, even when he dies, it's not going to have the same impact because there's so many times that he could have killed him. So
I want to know what you think. But, like, for me personally, I think the most extreme choice that Oda could make is kill off Usopp.
Oof. Right before Elbaf?
Yep. Because that would be, like, the brave warrior of the sea. Like, Usopp, who has pretty much developed maybe the most of all the Straw Hats over the story.
Yeah.
A character who, like, many people didn't like at the beginning and then, like, turned into one of the favorite characters of the story. Like, killing him after all he's been through, killing him off would have the biggest emotional impact, I think, on me at least.
Well, I think not only on the fan base, but on the Straw Hats, because Usopp was somewhat the, you know, we talk about the weakling trio, whatever. Nami at this point, Nami's formidable, right? Nami's formidable. Chopper, we know what he can do. Brook, Usopp, you know, as impressive as he is sometimes, even if it's by chance or happenstance or just dumb luck, he's like the regular person in the crew, right? And a lot of people have moments with him, right?
Yeah, he's the reader, kind of, like, right?
Yeah. So I think, in a way, if Usopp dies, especially right before Elbaf, I think the fan base would be very upset. But I think it would have such a crazy impact on the fan base. That would definitely give you the emotions of Marineford, but it has to be done well. It has to be, it has to be a moment that, you know, like, you can't just have Usopp die like Neji in Naruto, right? It
shouldn't just be like Big Mom, like, toppling over.
And falling on Usopp. No, it has to be a moment in which maybe Usopp
sacrifices himself.
Yeah, but the thing is, he overcomes that fear he has. Maybe somewhat similar to Dressrosa, but not by just dumb luck, right? It's Usopp literally going out of his way to maybe save Luffy or someone or save somebody. I think Luffy makes sense here. And then, you know, he ultimately loses his life. That would be a huge impact on the story because if you lose Usopp out of the crew, you lose some of the heart of the crew. So
yeah, that, like, literally leaves a really big hole, like, in the crew and, like, in the fan base.
A huge gap.
I want, like, I like to hear, like, your honest opinion about it, like, because for me personally, I think like while everyone would be understandably super mad at Oda, and like probably you'd have like comments like, "Oh, I'm quitting the story and shit."
Yeah.
I think in the end, probably like interest in the story would probably skyrocket. Don't you think? If something like that happened, because like then the end game really feels intense.
I think it definitely would. Interest would definitely skyrocket. But I think even further than that, people would then understand that anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
Like
and it's like fighting the Yonko, taking on the world government doesn't come without a price. Like it's not like we train in the forest and get stronger, and like
that doesn't mean you're going to be strong
skills.
enough, right? Like because that's something people talk about as well. Oh, they trained over the 2 years. Like, why should they lose to someone else? I'm like, well, you could go and, you can work as hard. You can interview. That doesn't mean you're going to get the job, right? You could go to school for all those years. Doesn't mean you're going to get a job. So for the Straw Hats, they went and they trained, and it shows that even after that 2-year training, they're still not strong enough to accomplish their goals. They're still training. They're still trying to get stronger. But wow, that would be a huge deal. But we have to see if that happens. But I guess to kind of conclude this video a bit, let's go through the alliance, right? And talk about like the people that could have motive to betray
to get back to
be the traitor, right? So you veered off a little bit. So okay, so with Law, we're saying Law probably
possible, but
not likely.
He's possible, but not the traitor.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. So let's talk about Carrot, because that's been a huge thing on Twitter mostly, like about her being the traitor. What do you think about her?
So when I first read like the first theories about that, like, because I don't, like, you probably follow that on Twitter, right? Like that was like that kind of like started off as a kind of a joke, right? So like I never took that too seriously until like people started paying more and more attention to it, and then like you kind of like start seeing details like her not being there, then like her facial expression in the last chapter, things like that. While I'm not saying like this is the one candidate I'm 100% on board with, it's definitely like a possibility I see now, and it would definitely be a cool twist if done correctly, I think.
It's just thinking about her story and everything she's been through, like the Pedro moments, the moments when she left and she wanted to just stow away just to join, just to be with the crew. If this was all part of her master plan, that's brilliant, because we know Kara's very young, right? So how would this have started? I guess that's my thing. Like the origin of this has to make sense because of how young we assume she is. It seems like she's very young.
I mean,
it's like I don't know. That's the only weird part I have about it. And I feel like there are other people there that probably it makes more sense for them to betray the alliance.
You definitely have to rationalize that properly. I mean, I personally don't think that. I think probably her tears for Pedro were like genuine.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I obviously Oda could go the way and say like, okay, there's like this good guy, this person who we thought was the good guy, like after all the time, and then like he turns out to be like the bad guy who betrayed everyone.
Yeah.
But like I think it would be much more interesting to like have this like in a more morally gray area where it's like, okay, this is a person we thought was good, but actually like had like a hidden agenda, but like in the end did it for a reason that like wasn't bad, like kind of like, okay, I had to cooperate with Kaido, or like this would have happened to like someone who was taken captive, or like to the Minks or whatever, or I did it because like I don't trust these people, and like Kaido promised to protect us or something. So that I think that would be more interesting,
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, but it's just for Carrot. It's I don't know if she's old enough to understand like the implications of things like that. So I think it's funny to mention Carrot personally, but I think she's unlikely as well.
Probably. I mean, one character that I see is like almost thrown around most of the time right now is Shinobu.
Yes, I don't think Shinobu. But I play with it as well because of how much he tried to disrespect Law, and like I'm like, don't disrespect Law.
Yeah, but it would be kind of boring, right?
Yeah, she's not as important.
Also how does Shinobu know where Zoe is, for example? Like where does that make sense?
Yeah, Shinobu is not as impactful of a character to have her be the traitor. Like, I don't think she is at all. All right.
What do you think for someone like what I think would be interesting is, for example, what do you think about Kanjuro, for example? Like someone who's actually been at all these stations. And then
I think Kanjuro is probably the second most impactful, because he has been with the Straw Hats. He's been traveling with Kinemon. He's been trying to protect Momonosuke. So him being the leak, it makes sense. Whereas like Kinemon and Momonosuke, like everything they've been doing, like him telling Kaido and all these people about Zoe and about like their whereabouts, it makes sense
Right.
for Kandro to be it. But I think the craziest one would be Kinemon if he's the actual traitor.
For sure.
Because it seemed like, because when they showed the flashback, it seemed like he was the guy that was the most outspoken, and how Ashura Doji and Inarashi, like how they positioned it, they made it seem like Kinemon was also the strongest, or or as strong, like the leader of them back then, right?
Right. The only problem I would have with that is if Kinemon was the traitor, like basically all he would have to do, like he wouldn't have to.
Why? It's like you did all that. You traveled to Dressrosa. You did all.
Why make a plan, right? Like why go through all this?
You already have him.
You could just
You already have him. Yeah. So Kinemon's probably ruled out. All right. I think my number one personally is Shutemaru, and the reason why
does he know where Zoe is? You think?
The thing is, I don't see why he wouldn't, because I feel like he was with Neku and Inu back then, right? They were all like retainers of Odin. So,
but then Zuisha is always moving, right? So like that's the only like.
You're right. That person.
I want to let you finish your thought on Shutemaru like in a second, but like the only thing I'm always keeping in mind is like that Jack knew exactly where Zunisha was. So either like if it's someone who wasn't there on Zoe, then at least they have like someone who's working with them on Zoe.
What about this? Say Shutemaru is the actual traitor, right? And they know about Zoe and all that. And if you're one of the retainers, one of the scabbards, one of the future, you would have Vivre cards for everyone, right? So if Jack had a Vivre card for Raizo, no matter what, he would know Raizo is on Zoe. It would be far-fetched to say Shutemaru had like a Vivre card for Raizo. I mean, and then
that makes sense.
So I think for Shutemaru, the reason why I'm speculating it could be him is because he is the one that kind of he lived through it, right? And he's been there for so long that it would be, how did he manage to survive for this long without being either apprehended by Kaido or Orochi or somebody else? And he's still alive. He's still roaming about. Like, what if he struck a deal with Kaido, to kind of stay alive? And then also what kind of bothered me was how quickly he got over being like,
how quickly he joined back up.
Yeah, he joined back up. It's like, I have these ships and I lost these men and all this stuff. Like, what if he's still holding some contempt because he lost all these people, and like it's seemingly like they abandoned Wano, right? And he had to join up with Kaido, and Kaido promised him to be the shogun and all this different stuff. And I just feel like he has the most motive. But
I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that idea.
Yeah.
The only thing, like, do you remember when they were pushed forward in time by Toki, right?
Yeah.
Like Kinemon and the others. Like, they left Wano immediately, right?
Right.
So what I would have to go back to the chapter, but I don't think they, like, a lot of, or were they caught or something? Because like, how did Kaido and Orochi, how did they, like, because Orochi, does he even know that Momo is, because he didn't know, right, when we started Wano.
No.
He didn't know that Momonosuke is still alive and that Kinemon is here.
No.
Like, he feared it.
Yeah, he thought it was
he didn't
ghost.
know.
He thought it was like but the thing is, like you said, he feared it, and he like really, that's something he talked about a lot, but he did not know for certain at all.
That's one of those fishy things, because like, maybe we're actually talking about two traitors here, because like,
maybe.
I always thought that Kaido was the one who was getting the information, right? Because like, he was the one who sent Jack to Zoe. He was the one who set his people after Kinemon and Momo, right? So he must have
and Dofi knew as well.
And Dofi knew. So they must have known, like, Kaido must have known that they're alive. And like, Orochi found out later, or like, I'm not even sure if he already knows actually that like they're all still alive. But like,
somebody was asking, does he know Hiyori's Kurosaki?
Why is he now the one getting the tip, right? Like,
I think he's
that's the thing that doesn't make sense.
I think he's a puppet in all of this. Like, like he's just the person that they're gonna use, to kind of get whatever they need. But I always wondered that, like, how, because they said something happened and that's when they started their quarrel in Inu and Neku, and then they got out, right? They managed to get out. So it would be crazy if they were the traitors, because again, they had Raizo. Like they lost limbs for Raizo. And so it's hard for me to believe that any of those two were like the traitors. They just like they sacrificed too much.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
Who else is left that could possibly know?
Well, I mean, people who actually like the question is what I was also asking myself in the last chapter is like, did they actually discuss at one point? Like, because like if off screen, like Kawamatsu actually told like the scabbards or someone like where Hiyori was, like that would open the field a lot wider. But like at the moment, it seems like he didn't actually tell anyone, and that like would that would leave the field of people who truly know of who we know of pretty small and pretty unlikely. Like that's like Zoro, Brook, Kawamatsu, Onimaru. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, it seems like he didn't tell it. I mean, because he said, "Oh, I assure you that she's safe," right?
Exactly. So it would have to be someone that kind of like was spying somewhere. Because like I don't see Onimaru being the traitor, right? Like that guy.
No, I don't see that.
Kawamatsu obviously also not. I think.
Do you think that's why Kawamatsu didn't say where it was, because he's skeptical of somebody? Yeah, like he's suspecting somebody could be.
That's what's so weird to me, that like nobody has named that problem, right? Like nobody. Like I don't understand how nobody has said, okay, like someone here is leaking information. Like they said it back on Zou, but it's not an issue anymore, and that's kind of weird. So either Kinemon is like I hope that someone is like under the radar looking for the traitor.
Yeah, but even past that though, I'm surprised no one has mentioned Big Mom. Like nobody's mentioned, hey, there's another Yonko in Wano,
Yeah, even Luffy, right? He was, or Chopper. Like, oh, by the way.
Like, no mention of Big Mom. So that's a weird thing, and kind of like off topic. Yeah. But it's just funny, like how a lot of things are just being brushed aside a little bit.
That's true. It's not like Big Mom is like the out of sight, out of mind.
It's like. Like if Big Mom is gonna if Big Mom is there and she's chasing after the Straw Hats, like she's definitely gonna present an issue. But that's maybe
Chopper was like, oh well, guess she was chained up and like
I guess
she's dead now.
Yeah, she's dead. I guess she's out of it. Maybe she left. Maybe she went home. Like
maybe she went home. Yeah.
Come on,
maybe she got hungry.
But nah.
Yeah.
So today, if you had to choose someone, right? Like, if you were a betting man. Who are you choosing?
Then I would bet on Kanjuro.
Yes. Actually, I think you convinced me. I'm liking the Kanjuro. I like that. I like actually because Kanjuro's separated from them for a while too.
Exactly. Like we don't know what he's been up to for some time, and also he's one of those characters like he's been around since Dressrosa.
Yes.
And still, we know so little about him, right?
Yeah. I like it. I saw people saying it could be Raizo, but I was like, I even tweeted said Raizo telling Jack where Raizo is wild.
Yeah,
because it's just like
that's kind of
I don't think it's Raizo. But people saying it's Raizo based on his shading when they were all walking away. Where I'm like,
I think that's just determination.
Yeah, that's it. They just they're just determined. So I'm with you. I actually like the Kanjuro. The Kanjuro being the traitor here.
I mean, there's a lot of options, but we'll see. Maybe there's more than one. Also very possible.
That's definitely possible. And I like how Oda's kind of handled it, where it's a major thing, but it hasn't been
named.
Yeah, it hasn't been named, but it hasn't been portrayed as such. But we know it's going to play such a huge role in the story.
The only big disappointment would be if it in the end Oda came on and was like, oh, there was no traitor.
That would suck.
Was just this random ninja dude who was running around the country.
Like they found Zou by mistake or something. No, that would suck. So hopefully it gets fleshed out in the right way. And I trust that Oda will figure it out.
For sure.
But that's it. I appreciate you joining me for this video, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it a lot. It was a lot of fun.
No problem. If you guys would like to subscribe to Ohara, amazing content on his channel. His channel will be in the description box down below. You can go subscribe. But again, thank you for joining me, Ohara.
Thanks, man. Make me blush.
more content to come, guys, this weekend. It's a lot to talk about. 955 was an amazing chapter. But if you did like the video, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. You know, after you subscribe to Ohara, of course. And then, you know, for more content like this, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye-bye.